Okay, I just need to say this right here. But does anyone even like the movie The Tender Bar? Because, I mean, why do I really like that movie a lot? You're beautiful movie lovers. My name is Louie, aka Movie Fandom, and today we are talking about George Clooney's brand new movie, as well as the most recent sports biopic, The Boys in the Boat, which is the true story on the 1936 Berlin Olympics. And I'm pretty sure if you know that story anyways, I'm pretty sure you may like this movie. I don't fully know, but still, maybe you will like it. Now, for me anyways, I was pretty excited for this movie. I love George Clooney as both an actor and director, and also I really like the trailer for it, and I also watched a review off this movie that really got me excited, saying it was like 90s sports movies, kind of reminding me of stuff like Remember the Titans, which I know isn't a 90s sports movie, but still it does kind of fit in that category, and I really love that movie a lot. In fact, I recently rewatched it, and I just forgot how much that movie is just so good. Like, genuinely, I just a quick gush about it, I genuinely love it. I mean, why does it not get the love it deserves? Come on, tell me. And also, this is a history movie, and I am a fan of movies about history, because I am very fascinated by history, and in fact, 2023 was filled with that, with stuff like Oppenheimer, Napoleon, which was good, just not great, and Killers of the Flower Moon, two of them in my favorite of the year. And, well, this did technically come out last year, but this technically came out this year here in the UK, but still, I was very excited for this movie, and with the recent stuff with biopics recently, I was pretty excited for this movie. And before seeing it, I was watching a video, from Carson Runquist, on the what I watched in December, and it had that on how the genericness didn't really work, which honestly kind of worried me, but even then I was expecting to like it. And after going out of the movie, now, I'm not saying this is the most generic movie out there. There are many more generic movies, and even some generic movies that I am a fan of. And with that stuff, with sports movies itself, with there being things like Remember the Titans and Miracle, which are kind of predictable and cliched, but even with that, they are still great movies with what they're able to do with both acting and characters, and I really do love those movies. And for this movie, there is a lot of stuff I really liked, but for the most part anyways, this kind of felt like a very generic mess. Maybe I shouldn't use the word mess in here, but still, it is kind of one of the only ways I can describe it. I don't really know what to call it other than just generic. And like I said, there are many generic movies that I am a fan of. Some of them maybe even my favorites of all time. But here in this case, it feels so derivative and just very predictable. But even with that, let me give you my things that I really did like about this movie, because in my opinion anyways, even though I didn't love this movie as I wanted to, it does have a lot of things to be appreciated about. Personally, the best thing about this movie is by far the cinematography, and even though it doesn't look always perfect so much, I do think they did an amazing job with it, and even with the boat races in here, genuinely making it a great visual experience with on what the emotions you should feel and the intensity with it, and it really puts you right in to these scenes, and I really did like that a lot. Set design wise, even though it may not really be sets, but still the locations and all of it that they did were pretty good, even though there were some pretty bad editing moments, admittedly. I'll get to that later, but still, I did think it was well done. Even though the acting did kind of feel like Oscar bait at times, I did think everyone did a great job in here, particularly with Callum Turner, who I did have issues with his character. I did think he did a really good job portraying this person, and I did really like his performance in here, and I thought he did a well enough job, and he really just fits the character perfectly. And also Hadley Robinson, who technically plays his lover in the movie. I really did like her character. She was by far my personal personal favorite. She had a lot of depth to her, even though we don't get as much screen time with her. I did think for the short amount of time we get with her, she was very interesting, and I really did like her performance in here. I thought she did a really good job like everyone else. And with the performances, it really did feel like a team, and I really did love that, because with most movies, I do kind of feel like if they're a team, and sometimes I don't really feel it. But here I did feel it, even though not all of them did get not a lot of attention. I'll also get to that later. But I did think they all did a great job in here, and they really did feel like a team. And also Joel Edgerton, who plays the coach in the movie, is outstanding. He was great in here. He was incredible. I loved his performance. Maybe he had the best character in the movie. I don't know. It's a little mixed with it, but still, I really did like his character in here. I thought his performance was really great as well. But even with those positives, they can't save it from a generic biopic. And this is as generic as you can get. If Napoleon, even though I did like that movie, felt like 4 hours at times, and it's probably going to be feeling like 8 later this year, this kind of felt like it was 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours as well. I mean, genuinely. I mean, I'm not saying it's the worst or most boring movie ever, or the most generic, like I've said, but it's so slow. And with how generic it is, it just kind of felt tiring, and I kind of felt myself getting tired at times. Well, I wouldn't say this is kind of a movie that felt like it was written by AI. It did feel like they asked AI on most iconic movie scenes to put in a biopic about this, and they just came up with a bunch of stuff with it. And that's kind of what it felt like. Like, they were trying to make some of the most iconic scenes. Not trying to make the most iconic lines like something like a Jurassic Park, but iconic scenes, stuff like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones in general, Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, like I've said, and many more, including Titanic. And also with Titanic, there's a brief scene in here with a brief kissing scene that literally remind me of Titanic exactly. Like, I'm not saying it's exactly like that. The emotions in here are very much different, but still, they really did feel like Titanic. I am not joking. And even though they are different scenes and are different in both movies, like I've said, Jesus, it felt so much like Titanic. I mean, I'm not saying it's the only movie with that kind of scene in there, but even with that, it felt like they were trying to convey the emotional depth in that scene to this. And also, I briefly mentioned the editing in here, and even though I said it was kind of good, for the most part anyways, a lot of it did look very bad and at times kind of hurt my eyes. I am not joking. Like, literally, when we're on the boat, it literally goes right in here, and with the little microphone here, just this. Think of that, just with genuinely. I mean, genuinely, it got so annoying a lot. I mean, it did kind of convey the intensity for me, and even though I was already guessing on how it would end, obviously, Jesus, it was very badly shot, though I did still feel the emotions it wanted me to feel. I don't know, it was kind of a mixed bag with it. And also, like I said with the team, while I did feel like they were like a team, we don't really get a lot of development with them, and we only get some with a few, and I just will never remember these characters, and it really does suck, because this story itself is very interesting. And and Callum Turner, who plays our main character here, he is like by far the most development we get with him. I mean, genuinely. And while I did like his performance and his character, even with it, I would have liked to see more with these other characters. See what they were like outside of the boat a little bit more. I mean, genuinely, it just really frustrated me. But even with that, it kind of conveys me to say on should have been longer, because this movie was actually kind of boring for a movie that is literally 124 minutes. I mean, genuinely, it's kind of confusing on should it have been longer for characters, or should it have been shorter or better paced. I don't know, it was kind of a mixed bag with that also. So definitely one of my favorite parts in here is that they didn't shy away from the stuff with Nazi Germany in the, about the third act of the movie, and I really didn't and I really did like that, they did that they didn't hide away from it, and I actually appreciated that they weren't kind of cowards with showing on what it was like then, and I thought it was really good. Also, on a side note, I need to say this, but Hitler in this movie literally reminded me of Grand Moff Tarkin CGI in Rogue One. Like, I'm not showing images from this movie off them for obvious reasons, but, I mean, genuinely, just take this image off Grand Moff Tarkin, okay, good, you got that? And now go watch this movie whenever streaming or in theaters. Keep that in your head, and then when you see him, particularly in one shot, I can't fully say it, but let's say it's like when he's shocked with what happens, with the result, obviously. And just, you may see what I'm trying to go for. I don't know, that's just what I thought. Overall, for me anyways, I found The Boys in the Boat to be disappointing. And even though I do like generic sports biopics, like Remember the Titans or Miracle, which are great movies, but they had a lot of depth to them than just being another throwaway generic sports biopic. This one is so generic that it genuinely just ruins the movie for me. And even though it can work at times with its cinematography and acting, for the most part anyways, it felt like kind of Oscar bait. And not like the biggest of Oscar bait. I've seen more Oscar bait even from movies I like Napoleon. It is very dry as a movie. It feels very generic, and it kind of brought it down for me, which really sucks, because I was really looking forward to this movie, but sadly, it wasn't really as good as I was expecting. If you would want my recommendation for if you should see it in a theater or at home, I'd recommend seeing it at home. I'd recommend renting it or streaming it, whatever. I think that may be a better choice. That being said, I don't think it's a bad movie. Like I said, there were other positives in here that were pretty good in this movie. But for the most part anyways, this movie kind of felt very bland to me. So overall, I'm gonna give The Boys in the Boat, sadly, a B-. So those are my thoughts on The Boys in the Boat. What did you think about this movie? Did you love it, hate it? Let's agree, disagree down below in the comments. Come and tell me. My next review will probably be for the Disney Plus Marvel show Echo, which I am very excited to watch and review. I'll probably be watching that tomorrow and then reviewing it for you later. And there are also a bunch of other stuff in January that I do want to review, stuff like The Color Purple and many more as well. I do want to review the Ted TV show, but I'm not sure I'll be able to, but still, hopefully I will be able to. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, stay awesome.